Hi, folks, and welcome to another Morning Samoflange.
I was gonna do that.
Well, that kind of kicked in a little too late. Got started off a little late. Welcome back.
Somebody started to drip a little too late.
I'm telling you what, I gotta get that checked out.
Very happy to be here. Yes, I'm very excited to be back on Saturday.
Oh yes. It's been a while. We're still not done with the show, though, right?
We're not done with the show.
We're at the break period.
We are at a break
and we're gonna come back.
We've got 2 more performances left, and I will tell you how much it has changed and evolved, and how
I can't wait.
Have my feelings have evolved.
We've talked about it a little bit, but we're going to save the rest of the conversation for the actual podcast.
Saturday.
Morning game shows is the topic today.
Saturday morning game shows.
Yeah,
pretty good. So.
There's some good game shows out there, and there's some pathetic game shows out there. And we were saying, hey, we said. What top 5 TV series we wish we would have been in?
Yes.
Well, now what top 5 game shows we wish we could be in, or could have been in?
And this hit us right after we finished the podcast on.
Yeah. You had said something, and it got me, and I was like, oh. And then after the podcast, we went, we should totally do this.
Yeah.
So here's the deal: how much crossover we're going to have?
Look, this one, you think you've got to go high, right? You've got to go high. Like maybe 3.
Who guesses? You're going 3.
I'm going to say 3.
Dang, that's what I was going to do. All right. I think you may be right, but I'm going to say a solid 2.
I think it's a solid 2.
I will be shocked.
I would kind of be shocked
if it's less than 2.
Okay, yeah.
But you could be right. It could be 3. Let me make sure.
3. I think it's 3.
I think it's 2, but here we go. I'm feeling more confident about 2. All right, so
find out.
I'll go first. I don't mind.
Go right ahead.
I love the Food Network.
Okay, go on.
Is this a crossover?
No.
I didn't think so.
It isn't.
And though I would get bounced on the very first, probably preliminary auditions.
You want to be in Top Chef?
Chopped.
Tell me
my goodness. I love how they take ingredients that you don't know what to do with, and these guys come up with different ideas, and they cook it, and you see how well the 30-minute mark, how well they cooked it. And it's meant to have people not be able to cook the perfect dish, but do the best they can with what they got.
That sounds like
every time I That's exactly right.
It's like
more true than you think, folks. But every time I'm cooking ramen noodles or scrambled eggs, I pretend I'm on Chopped. In my head, I pretend I'm on Chopped. I loved it.
Really?
I'm not a good cook. I would get bounced.
Get through being a father.
But I don't. But just the stew and making an omelet. I pretend I'm on Chopped.
Yeah.
I look at the timer. I say, "Oh, he's got 10 more minutes left," and I can't get it done in 10 minutes. I add 2 minutes.
Because I'm curious about this now. Like, you pretend you're on Chopped because you go on a pretty strict diet fairly regularly, like once a year.
And I think that's where it started because I have to make the most of. It's that omelet.
And
it is the egg scramble that I make.
Yes, you have
almost every day.
Yes. You limit yourself to a very strict menu. For several weeks, months at a time.
Yes.
And you make the same thing every day, and a lot of people can handle that. That's a lot of reason that other people can't do this diet.
They can't do the diet.
So, but is that where it originated from?
I think so. That may be right because you're trying to come up with new and different ways to create the omelet with spinach, jalapeno, hamburger, a little bit of hamburger.
Yeah. And I have gleaned
onions.
Some of these recipes from you as well. Like
you came over once earlier this year when we were doing it.
And do that. It's a good time.
It is good times. But anyway, Chopped number 5. Go ahead. What's your number 5?
Chopped number 5. My number 5 is a throwback as I was looking at these because I needed to flesh out my list, and I just had so many great memories flash through from being a part of watching Hollywood Squares. Do you remember that show?
That's a good one. I used to watch on USA all the time.
Yeah. It's basically celebrities playing tic-tac-toe.
Yep.
But the trick of it is that...
And Gilbert Godfrey is one of those 9 squares.
Usually they were actors. They were celebrities, in general, but almost always actors at least.
Yep.
And the goal was you were lying or telling the truth. Like you would ask, they could ask the question.
And you'd agree with the person or disagree with them.
Yeah. Or not, are you telling the truth? And then if you got it right, you got the X or the circle.
Yeah.
Or that kind of thing. And
fun game.
Very simple premise, but I loved the fact that I could sit and watch that with my family. My parents would watch it with me, and then we would have such a good time because I remember thinking as a young child, like, these are professional actors, and they're doing a terrible job lying. Like, I know, I can see right through
But
it.
it also made a fun way to watch a game show, because it's like you had special guests. All like Dolly Parton would be on it, and
whoever the center square was a special guest.
Was a special guest,
right?
And the thing is, though, a lot of times they were surprisingly funny.
Yeah,
like people you didn't think would be that funny are hilarious.
They're absolutely great because you see them out of their normal
vibes,
like
role or wherever they are. Yes,
or whatever,
whoever.
Exactly. And one of the ones that sticks in my head the most is when Alf was the center square.
Yes,
he was the best thing about the '80s. And
great. Alf is so good. Yeah.
So I just loved watching that show, and it was also paired up. And this is what I found. This is before we started recording. I was talking about how I'd found these statistics about how the average American in their lifetime watches like so many hundreds of thousands of hours of television in their life.
Right.
And like in a week they watch this much, and then in a month they watch this much, and all that other kind of stuff. But even today, are we still recording? Yes.
Yes, we are. But we're take a little station break here.
Stop it.
Station break over.
Little girls now we pause 5 minutes. For 30 seconds for station
little girls who should be going to bed are coming in here. Nope, not going to work. Anyway, Hollywood Squares.
Even in today's Netflix world, of everybody's got a streaming service and everybody's on their own devices, right? I found the statistic that said that families still watch game shows together as families, and that's the number one thing that most families watch together is game shows.
You can always get behind a quiz show or something
exactly.
like that.
And then once the game show's over, then the kids go watch Minecraft videos, and the parents go watch their R-rated movies,
Hallmark
right, on Christmas movies in the corner.
Dad's watching sports. Everyone's watching their own different thing.
You're watching Bloodsport again. And
yeah.
But game shows were the thing that the families still watch together even today, and I was really happy to read that, and because it was the reason that my number 5 is Hollywood Squares, and watch it with my family, and it was funny to watch.
I'm actually watching YouTube, probably. Cindy Crawford Pepsi commercial again.
Naturally.
My number 4. I think we might have a crossover. I don't know.
I hope so.
We're both children of the 80s.
Yes, we are.
Double Dare.
Yeah, it's my number 4.
It's your number 4.
Yeah.
All right. As a kid, this would have been my number 1.
This would have been my number 1 as a kid.
My number 2, my number 3, my number 4, my number 5 would have all been Double Dare because there was no
How
other
could
show
you compete
on the face of the earth rather than Double Dare.
Here's my caveat right off the bat, and it's a bit of a downer. Is that I grew up in the country in Calhoun. I almost never got to watch Double Dare because it wasn't on regular network television. I don't know, because my friends had cable or whatever, and I could go to their house and watch Nickelodeon or something like that. Oh,
mercy me!
But I wasn't able to watch it whenever I wanted or as often as I wanted. And every time I saw it, it was like the He-Man commercials when they came on, and they had the slime and the He-Man and the Castle Grayskull. I had the slime that was my Double Dare. It was Castle Grayskull, and it had the slime pit in it or whatever, and that was about as close as I ever got.
Now, when you said dare, you sent it over to the other team. If they said Double Dare, then the answer was worth double points.
Right.
And even if you knew the answer, you don't say it.
Didn't matter.
Because you want to do the physical challenge.
Yes, you want to do the physical challenge.
That's the fun thing about it. And you had 1 minute. This is where Minute to Win It got it from.
Yeah.
All these little 1 minute games. And by the way, rarely has there been a better game show host than Mark Summers.
I guess,
Mark Summers.
I don't know Mark Summers.
He was the host.
I know who you're talking about, but like I said, I didn't get to see it. I didn't get to fall in love with Mark Summers the way
we had. The game Double Dare, with all the cheap,
cheap slime.
No, it didn't have any slime.
No slime.
Cheap plastic parts and even cheaper little styrofoam
pieces. Every toy in the '80s came with slime,
and it was stupid. They tried to reinvent. I mean, it's just a bunch of junk they threw in a box and put Double Dare on it.
Wow.
And so you thought you were doing Double Dare, but they didn't have flags for physical challenges. What? The flags would have been cheap. Little plastic flags.
Did you feel cheated even as a kid?
We were so excited to get it, and then we saw, this all sucked. Like all the physical challenges sucked. It was just so dumb. And but I was like, at least I wish they would have given us flags for that, or where's the shirts? I'd love to have worn a red. I was team red all the time because red was my favorite color, but I'd have been
Where's
blue.
the shirts?
Give me a Double Dare sticker or decal.
Anything.
Or something you could have put in there. You cheap SOBs.
That's messed up.
Yeah, but okay. So wow, it's
But
both are number 4.
Both number 4. Yes, and I had it had to be on the list with the first crossover because
I knew that one was going to be on there. There's another one on here that I'm shocked.
Would you think that Mikey's number 1 would be Double Dare, or that would have to be?
Mikey would have Double Dare guaranteed on this.
Without question.
Mikey would probably have 2 of these on here as well. I'm almost positive we don't have 2. Okay, so I'll go on to number.
Yeah, go ahead. So that was my number 4.
All right, number 3 you do not have. But I want you to YouTube these and watch them sometime.
Please.
The Crystal Maze.
I don't have.
Never came out in the U.S.
Okay.
It's a UK. My buddy from the UK goes, you need to watch it. If you like Double Dare, watch Crystal Maze.
Is this from the 80s as well?
The production on Crystal Maze, yes. From the
90s?
late 80s, early 90s.
Sure.
But yeah, still in the same area.
Yeah, same vibe.
There is not just a stage, my friend. There's a set. There's not just one set. There's 4 different lands. Lands, like big production sets.
Holy smokes.
Where they go in there in several different rooms, have several different challenges.
What?
Some of them, and they get to pick which room. Or they
What? So you get to pick your world first?
And
like Super Mario Brothers?
And pick your challenge.
Wow.
You get to pick a brain challenge, a strength challenge, an agility challenge. He's like, which one would you like? And then they pick one and run to that room. So they had challenges ready that never even got played. Now I'm sure they reused a few
but
and
still.
probably kept a few for later. But
wow,
I mean, it's amazing the kind of stuff that they had. They had a big old, the mini little marble maze, the little metal ball in the maze, and the little travel games you had.
Of course.
Okay, imagine a giant one encased in glass where you stood on top of it, holding onto a rope and using your feet to move the ball around to get in the center in 1 minute or less.
1 minute or minute.
How ingenious were some of these?
That's fantastic.
You had to get a remote control tank around a field, but there were explosives.
What?
That would blow it up.
What?
You had to be careful. You had to feel for it. The little pop rockets or whatever. That would blow up the little,
gosh.
I mean, some of the things they had were just ingenious.
Every kid's dream.
And the Crystal Maze, it was a maze, 4 different lands. And you started in one land, then you moved to another one. They were all interconnected by sewers, by bridges, by whatever. It's amazing. And at the end,
it sounds unbelievable.
They accumulated these crystal balls.
Yes.
And every time they had one, they got an extra 10 seconds in the crystal ball maze. It's not a maze, but it's just a crystal ball.
Sure.
Where they shot up. Well, hold on. The thing is, though, if one of your team would go in there, if they didn't make it in time, they got locked in. You can buy them out for one of your crystal balls, but that costs you 10 seconds of time in the crystal maze. So at the end of the game, he'd say how many seconds you had. And it was a big old blow machine with all the little paper going everywhere, like money.
Yeah.
But the thing is, though, it's gold and silver. You want the gold, you don't want the silver. But the thing is, though, it's going everywhere.
There's
so you
no
just
way.
grab whatever you can and shove it in the little compartments, or shove it on you to hold on to it, and they count it out. The gold counts for 1 point. Silver, -1 point.
Oh my gosh.
So you can't just be grabbing willy-nilly. You got to at least try to get as much more gold.
Was it about 50-50 or was it about 25-75?
Some people won. Most people didn't win much.
Wow.
Because the game could be kind of hard at the end. But unbelievable. Unbelievable. That game. I mean, as a kid, I was shocked watching
which
this.
part would you like the most?
I watched a couple of seasons. There's an Aztec land. There's a medieval land. There's a futuristic land, and for a while there's a submarine land, and underwater, and Captain Nemo. But then they changed it to something else later on down the road. But 4 different lands, and you started in one of the 4 lands.
They had an underwater land?
Yeah, like you were on a ship or something.
That's crazy.
And it was all water challenges. I mean, everything's themed too.
Wow.
Medieval. You'd go in there, and a fortune teller would tell you a riddle, and if you got the riddle right, she'd give you a crystal.
That sounds like the most epic kids show of all time. Like, how do they beat that?
I'm serious. Watch one episode of it with Richard, whatever was his name. He was an actor in the UK, but
holy smokes.
Unbelievably good. Unbelievably good.
Wow.
Crystal Maze. My buddy Luke from the UK told me about it because I was telling him about Double Dare. And he said, watch that.
Well, that's nothing.
I watched like 3 seasons of it. I was like, oh my gosh. And the U.S. took it over back in the 2012, 2013, 2015, whatever. They tried to do their version of it.
Didn't land.
It just came across kind of weak. Than the original. It seems iconic now. But anyway, All right, so that's my number 3. What is your number 3?
My number 3 is Where in the World is Carmen Sandiego?
That is an honorable mention.
It is an honorable mention
because
for you.
I never missed an episode of that. I
telling
loved
you.
the computer
I
game.
loved the computer game.
And I loved that game show.
And Rockapella. That's where I fell in love with Rockapella. Carmen Sandiego.
Just that bow.
Yeah, yeah.
You got a trip.
2 weeks around
if
the
you,
world.
If you got everything
from
right,
Berlin
you
down
won a
to
trip to
Utah.
anywhere within the 48 states.
Lower
'Cause
48 states, right.
But we be
couldn't
cheap.
go to Alaska, you couldn't go to Hawaii.
Right. But you could go to Connecticut, said no one. or Wyoming.
Yes.
Or Montana. Who picks those places? No, you pick California, Florida, Texas, New York.
California, New York, every time.
I want to go to Iowa. Then everyone just, no, I want to go to North Dakota. Well, then you already lost, kid. Trust us.
I'm sorry, Billy, but you've just lost the game that you won.
Yeah, if you lose the game, you go to North Dakota. That's all right. So anyway,
so you watched every episode. You loved the game,
never
and it
missed
still only got an honorable mention.
All right, Gumshoes. She talked to the very
and
beginning.
I watched, because they put it on. Is it Disney Plus?
Very educational. No, I think it was PBS or something.
You're right. It
PBS
was
something?
extraordinarily educational,
Yes.
and the hokey acting and everything else. Like those adult actors.
I didn't care. I ate it up.
They committed to it.
They committed to the role, and they were great.
Seeing it as an adult now and thinking this is a paid gig for this adult actor, and they're fully committing to this kids game show, and it was so good to watch.
And to be fair, I could have replaced that with Chop, because Chop, honestly, I wouldn't even do good on. I just love Chop. But I thought, no, I'd want to be on Chop. If I even had the talent, I'd want to be on Chop.
Let me ask you this.
Where in the world is Carmen Sandiego is
Would you say that your geography skills are above average because of that game?
That in the little computer game called Geo Safari from the 90s.
Geo Safari as well, yes.
Those were the two things that...
Where in the world is Carmen Sandiego, and where in time is Carmen Sandiego?
I hated Where in Time. It was so hard.
It was hard, I know. It was hard.
Crazy hard. Where in the world, I could whoop her.
Absolutely. You could find her every time.
But Where in Time, being a history major too, but that was still... Remember the booklet for that?
It was huge. Back in the day before protection, copyright existed.
And the longer you took to give an answer, the more time escaped, and she got further away.
And so they would, in Where in the World and Where in Time, the game would come with an encyclopedia. And then it would ask you randomly throughout the game or when it started up to say, turn to page 246, and what is the fourth word in the third paragraph?
Yeah.
And that's the only way you could play it.
How good did it feel to be a gumshoe and then make it to lieutenant, then detective, then master detective,
get promoted to master detective.
Finally, after one or two master detective runs, you finally got Carmen, and you were shaking because it was Carmen, and you had to get her.
Yep.
And when you knew one, you were like, oh, but 1, 5. You knew what it was. You had to press it quickly.
Yeah. It was great.
And then it showed you getting on the plane and going there, and bing, yes, you found it.
It was great. And so, that's the game we're talking about, but the game show...
Game show's excellent.
I thought it was terrific. I mean, it's basically trivia. It's geography trivia. It gets progressively harder. But I loved the huge map that they bring out at the end, whatever the continent was, and then you had to just figure out what the map was. You always hated it. If it was Africa, you were screwed. No.
I don't know that one.
I knew Europe so well.
I studied Europe.
I could do South America. Oh, no, I was ready for South America. Oh, no! I even had Asia. I can't do Africa. Oh, God.
Why can't it once be Australia?
Why can't it just be Australia or Antarctica for once?
I know where South Africa is. That's it. Come on, please pick it.
It's so hard.
Yeah.
So that would absolutely have to be in my top 5.
That's so true.
I still listen to Rockapella today. They made a lot of albums, and they're still singing together. That lead guy.
They're awesome.
The guy who sang the lead pipes, the blonde, the skinny blonde, he's still around, doing his thing. Yeah,
good for them. Good for them.
Great.
Our second crossover.
It has to be, right?
Because whenever I think about this show, and I think still today, we could do it.
I could do it.
You could do it
without question.
I mean, we wouldn't even have. Well, the question would be, whose line is it anyway?
Yes, but is that the game show we're talking about?
With Drew Carey.
No.
Yes.
It's not a crossover.
Oh, it's not.
No, I've never considered that a game show.
Well, I mean, it's silly, but someone won.
I mean,
at the end.
Guess, yeah.
And they did have other people. And then on the Comedy Channel, back before it became mainstream, they did have multiple different guests on there.
I guess I didn't realize
it was an improv, and the crowd gave points. And of course, in Drew Carey's version, the points didn't matter, but someone won.
Right.
But in the old version with the British one, they did give out points. Did have winners.
Okay. Well, I guess I didn't watch it enough to know that, but
we watch it all the time.
We could do that.
I was the king of ad lib. You got to be. Those guys were ingenious.
Oh my gosh.
Those guys were ingenious.
It's like you scream at the TV. There's no way they didn't prepare
the most brilliant comedians.
It's unreal.
Made it on that show, and Colin, whatever, the man of 1,000 faces, the man of 1,000. Just so good. The tall, thin guy. I can't remember his name.
Aren't they coming to Shreveport? Like one or two of them are coming to Shreveport soon, like in December or November, like this year.
Oh, okay.
Like
Wayne, whatever, who could make a song out of anything off the cuff.
Oh, right. Immediately.
It was so impressive because he grabbed stuff from the crowd. It was so random from the crowd, and he had it, and he made it awesome. And I could not think of that many things, but I like the props. You had 5 seconds to make a prop joke. They just went through the gamut. The who's coming over for dinner, and you had to guess who it was.
Yeah.
Man drowning was one of them, and it's just so funny. It was so funny and so just pure in a way to me.
It was pure.
I love that show. I believe it. I count as a game show, but let us know, listeners, what is a game show? Because I thought it would be.
Who's Live Anyway is the tour.
Who's Live Anyway in Shreveport? Wow, I did not know that.
It's going to be at the Strand on November 10th, it appears.
Will they bring people up there? Because I will rise to that challenge. Honestly, you, me, CJ.
Oh my gosh, yes.
Honestly, who else? Who else could just bring it like nobody else? I think Mikey could bring the improv.
Mikey can do it, but
Mikey can bring the improv.
You were the king of murder.
Well, Caleb, my brother.
Like I'm sitting here, you're making me sound terrible on the podcast. I'm sitting here trying to look up this details, and it's throwing off my ad lib skills now.
Oh man! But that's the best thing about dinner theater is that you get to be in that character. You have to react to the audience, and you got to throw the zingers back.
Exactly.
There was one dinner theater where I had so many. I went off because my lines weren't funny, and Steve gave me the nod to embellish, which he never usually did, but the show dragged.
Yeah.
So he gave me some embellishment. So there was one thing, and I'd always say, I think it was David, Shonda's husband now, was in the show, and I can't remember if it was Shonda or it was probably Cassie. And Cassie is voluptuous. And so she's in a costume that
is accentuating
is bunching is holding the melons, and so there's a line where I say there's something because I look at Cassie, I get right in her face, and I go, there's something I really like about you, and I look down, and I said, but I just can't put my finger on it. And everyone would laugh at that joke. Naturally. Well, then David thought he would be smart. And go, I did. To which everyone laughed. To which I quickly responded, that wasn't your finger.
Oh, my word.
And another one that I really loved was I had to the thing where you have to reenact the murder.
Yes.
And it's a trope. You get other audience members to help reenact it for you. It's something you use to kill time. And so I was like, okay, so point the gun, and I say, whoa! I said, with the safety on, please. I was doing Jim Carrey's Ace Ventura, so I'd take their little finger gun and act like I was turning the safety on.
Right.
And it was a joke I did. Well, then one day I was like, okay, now aim and fire. But it all kind of felt serious and flat. Then I had to look at it and everything. I said, aim, and I said, I said, shoot the bird. And I flipped him off.
Oh my God.
And that was the bird. But the one time, this is the last show, and I'm thinking, that would be so funny to do. They pick a kid.
Oh no.
And I went, well, I can't do it.
I can't do my joke now.
And then I thought,
well, you know what?
Heck yes, I can. I gave that kid the double douche, man.
The double douche.
And I gave him what for, as they say.
Thank you, Strong Bad.
His mom was talking to Steve Munns at the end of the show.
Yeah.
And I thought, she's pissed.
She's making a complaint.
So I walked up, ready to apologize, hat in hand, and she turned to me and she went, "There you are." And she grabbed me, she went, "That was the funniest thing we have ever seen. We cannot stop laughing over it." I was just telling him.
They're going to be telling that story at Thanksgiving for the next 20 years.
Good. Because that was off the cuff, and I felt a little bit bad.
That's great.
But didn't do it. But anyway.
Yes, fans of the comedy show Whose Line Is It Anyway are in for a treat. 4 of the best improv comedians, Ryan, Greg, Jeff, and Joel, are from the show and will create characters, one-liners, and off-the-cuff songs just like from the TV show. This time without the commercial breaks.
Love it.
Isn't that cool?
Love it.
So
Love it.
We should check that out.
They're having just as enough fun.
That's November 10th.
It's awesome.
We should see about that.
Yeah. All right, number 2. I apologize, then we do not have another crossover there. We could have another one, but I thought that was one. But I guess
I've never really thought about that one.
You didn't consider it a game show.
I mean,
that's fine. No,
it is. I totally see what you're saying, but I mean, it doesn't match the same vibe of like Family Feud.
I got you.
Which is, of course, my number 2.
Whoa, that would be Megan's number 1.
Family Feud is one of my absolute favorites.
She loves Family Feud.
I love Steve Harvey. He's one of my favorite comedians just ever. But I've enjoyed every single host of that show. Like they've all had their own strengths and vibes and quirks. They're all
pacing,
good. But they've always
delivery,
had good pacing. They've always known how to
reactions,
very subtly make fun of the audience or make fun of the family
contestants, but still be kidding in a
jolly way. It seemed like they were just good to work with.
Not mean-spirited.
Not mean, but it was just
they'd
fun.
mock them, but not mean. It never
like
seemed
Steve Harvey will mock every single person on the show, but he cracks up about it during that too.
Yeah.
And so Family Feud is another one of those I used to watch with my family as well, and then it's insane. Because, I mean, I like it because you don't feel like you have to have any special skills. I could never be on Jeopardy because I'm smart, but I'm not that smart. I don't know or care that much about trivia. So it's like an American dream for a lot of people to win Jeopardy because then you're smart and you get money and all this stuff, and it's like, that's America. But it's just, nowadays it's not the opposite of smart. Yeah, exactly. That's what it is. So, but with Family Feud, you didn't have to know any special skills. You just had to not be an idiot. Don't say the same thing that they said, and anybody could do it. It just, you had to get chosen is all, and then you had to just say things. Nowadays, they just try to skew everything to where it sounds like it could be talking about sex, or they just overtly talk about sex, and it just gets ratings and clips and YouTube clips to play. What you got?
Thinking about how you're defining the thing, game show and everything.
Yeah.
I think I've goofed. I know I've goofed on this. So my number 1
is
Whose
Line?
Oh,
no,
what's your number 1?
Okay.
Because now, as we're defining game shows, the one I have is not defined. I mean, it is a game, but it's not a game show.
It's not the classic game show.
It's not because a game show format is a one episode. We have a distinct winner afterwards.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm going to forfeit number 1, which was Survivor, which is a reality show.
Oh, that's a great area. I see what you're saying.
But a game show should be one episode where we have a clear winner at the end. I wouldn't call
Survivor a game show.
And that's more of reality.
Yeah.
So I have goofed. So thereby putting Where in the World is Carmen Sandiego at number 5, bumping everything up, giving us 2. I'm still not going to count that because I was wrong on that, because if I had Where in the World, that was unfair. So no winner for me. But what was your number 1?
My number 1 is The Price is Right, but with Bob Barker only.
Bob Barker only.
Yes.
Okay.
So if I could go back in time, it would be...
No Wheel of Fortune we picked. That's
absolutely not.
And I was never a Jeopardy fan.
I never wanted to be on Jeopardy. I never wanted to be on Wheel of Fortune. I always thought Pat Sajak was smug, even as a child. I was like, what's the matter with this guy?
But Bob Barker was cool.
He seemed very cool. Like he seemed like a very welcoming grandfather to everybody.
And the games...
The games were fun.
They were push your luck. Yes. They were joke, make sure the ball lands in one of the things there. Plinko stuff. But, it was fun stuff.
Plinko was naturally the
fun stuff,
the favorite, and it was just some of them were skill based, some of them were
push your luck because you had to keep going till you bust.
Absolute guessing. But that's my point. That's one of the appeals of it. Is just like Family Feud. it feels like with some of them, anybody could win this. Like,
that's true.
I'm spinning this big dumb wheel. I can do that.
Yeah,
like, come on.
true.
And then you just have the one lady who gets sucked under the wheel and gets a concussion from standing too close. And then Bob's always like, after that episode, he was always, now stand back now. Stand back.
Stand back now. Yeah.
With his long, skinny microphone and just his warm
long,
smile.
Skinny microphone. I think they still have the long, skinny microphone.
It was odd how
Which I'm glad they've kept that 70s microphone.
Yeah, me too.
Because it's kind of iconic now.
Yeah.
Good picks. Only left. Now there's only one honorable mention left for me. An '80s one that was a kind of a ripoff of Double Dare, but Funhouse, where you got to run through the. J.D. Roth was the host, and you got to answer questions. The winning team got to run through the Funhouse trying to collect flags.
That sounds really familiar.
Go through the ball pit. Now crawl across the whatever thing.
I think I've seen that.
Dig through the roller. Oh, he made it through. Now tag someone else in. Now they run in. And pick the right locker. Oh no.
I feel like I've seen that.
Treasures of the Hidden Temple, whatever. The Hidden Temple, whatever. The 90s kind of redid Funhouse.
Interesting.
We had to go through a hidden temple gathering flags or idols or medallions or whatnot.
No, I remember that too. It was interesting.
Yeah. Any other honorable mentions for you?
I just had Press Your Luck just because of the no whammies thing.
That's always fun.
And it's always fun. And then Who Wants to Be a Millionaire? Like, it just was there.
I watched that all the time back in the day, but I felt like it had lost its steam very quickly.
Tell me why.
Just because not many people were winning, and the questions. I mean, multiple choice was smart. Smart to do multiple choice on hard questions.
That's what I'm saying.
Smart to have the poll the audience, phone a friend, 50-50. That was smart to have that.
Right.
That's the fun. That's the part that made it possible.
It makes you feel like you could do it.
Yeah, but you didn't have enough million. Not that you had to have $1 million winner every time, but that was back when $1 million you thought you're set for life.
You're set for life.
Yeah, you really did.
Well,
now it's like $1 million. Good. I'll go back to work the next day.
$1 million. You might be able to retire one day.
Have a house and 2 cars paid for. Then go back to work the next morning because I've spent all my money.
Get your ass back to work.
Exactly right. Yeah. But anyway, all right. So, folks in the chat and on the YouTube comments here.
Comments.
What game shows?
What did we miss?
Is Whose Line Is It Anyway? Is that count as a game show? Or we'll let the crowd decide.
That's a good question.
And what game shows did we miss? What game shows did we not think about? There were older game shows.
Were there any other like Carmen Sandiego that came on Saturday?
Morning
Samoflange.